was a chilly winter evening. New Jersey was covered in white snow. The Stevenson family was enjoying the cozy evening in front of the fireplace. The house was filled with the aroma of the delicious food made by Mrs. Stevenson. Jess Stevenson, a little girl of 10, was making plans for their vacations, which was arriving soon. David, her 8-year-old brother, was also excited. Suddenly, they heard a horn outside the house. The kids ran towards the window to see who it was, and there was the knock at the door. Mrs. Stevenson walked towards the door and opened the lock. The door flung open with a jolt. Oh, it was Mr. Stevenson, a thin, scrawly man with dark hair, dark circles around his eyes, glasses that were circled. He walked towards the door. But what was that horn? They didn't own a vehicle, since the last one broke down in an accident, and they had to sell it for a few pennies. Mr. Stevenson yelled, "Surprise! I bought a new truck." The kids got excited and quickly wore their winter jackets and boots. They ran outside to see their new ride excitedly. "Wow, Father, it is so beautiful and huge!" exclaimed Jess. "I've planned a camping trip," said Mr. Stewart. They all packed their luggage along with the dinner, and soon they were on the road, going towards the camping destination. The children were overjoyed and sang jingles. Mrs. Stevenson was also so very grateful. "What an amazing night!" she exclaimed. The sun had set far behind the trees hours ago. The moon was shining with full zest. Snowflakes looked like crystals falling from the sky. The snow slowly covered the treetops and the mountain peaks. Darkness was just setting in, and the howling dogs could be heard clearly. It became foggy because of the cold weather, and the whistling wind was blowing continuously. The only light that could be seen was that coming from the moon and the truck's headlights, and soon the family arrived at the destination where they would be camping out. They got out of the truck, but it was too cold to stay there without a fire. "Hey, let me pick some logs from there," said Mr. Stevenson. "I'll stay here with the kids and prepare the tents for camping," announced Mrs. Stevenson. The kids jumped in excitement and ran to help their mother set up the tents. Mr. Stevenson nodded and picked up his axe and went away to look for some logs to light a fire. He went to the woods and started to chop the trees. Little did he know he was being observed from a distance. "What a beautiful night, huh?" Mr. Steven was busy cutting the logs, and suddenly he heard some voices. As he looked up, 2 tall men in their 40s were standing beside him. "Hey there, fellows. What are you doing here? You scared the hell out of me," Mr. Stevenson declared. The unknown man replied, "Nothing much, just hunting." Mr. Stevenson said, "I think you are unaware. This area is restricted. You can't hunt animals here." The man smiled slightly and said, "We're not. We are hunting humans." There was a pin drop of silence, and then, with the blink of an eye, pools of blood could be seen frozen in the snow. There lay the lifeless and headless body of Mr. Stevenson. Welcome to Foggy Nights. Jess and David felt cold and anxiously waited for their father to come back with the fire logs. The wind was cold and felt like a knife piercing through the lungs. It was quiet and late, and Mr. Stevenson did not return. Mrs. Stevenson got worried and decided to go look for him. She told the children to sit in the truck and wait till she comes back. Mrs. Stevenson started to take steps forward and disappeared into the darkness. She called out, "Mr. Stevenson," but he didn't respond.
Honey? Honey, it's taking you a really long time to come back. Where are you?
Then she saw a man standing behind the trees. She thought that it was Mr. Stevenson and walked towards him.
Oh, there you are, babe.
But when her vision became clear, it was an unknown man. She began running back towards the truck fast as she could, her adrenaline pumping and rushing through her strong body. As she was about to reach the truck, something hit her head hard. The mysterious men had tracked her. The children saw their mother lying flat on the ground. There, she was taking her last breaths. Jess and David cried,
Mom! Mom! Mommy! Mommy!
and lost their senses. How could they see their mother lying there like that, dying? The monstrous men spotted them and ran towards the truck with a quickness, crunching in the snow. The children hid in the truck and prayed they aren't found. The two ruthless men came with the axe and broke the windshield of the locked truck. They searched the truck and found Jess behind the suitcase. Jess screamed with shock.
No! No, Mommy! Mommy! Mom!
David couldn't stand the sight and jumped on the man to save his sister. But what could the feeble kid do? Soon, they ended up just like their parents. Two men hunted the family one by one, like savages in the jet black night, without anyone ever knowing, and where no one could ever find them. Went Jesse's head, went David's skull. Boo-hoo. Happy camping, kids. When I was 19 years old, I and my cousin decided to go on a camping trip. We lied to our parents that we are going to stay at our friend's house. We planned to go to a hill near our home and decided to spend one night there. In the morning, we packed all the important stuff, like tents, noodles, biscuits, trail mix, and lots of water. We started our hiking on the trailhead, and we planned to reach the top of the hill before sunset to see the heartwarming view of the sunset from there. We never thought this trip would turn into anything bad for any of us. By evening, we made it to the top of the mountain. After watching the awe-inspiring sunset, we set up our camps and made a fire. I and my cousins went to smoke 2 joints while watching the beautiful sunset. After eating dinner, we went to our tents to sleep because we were so tired after 2 hours of constant hiking, and our joints made us a little lightheaded too. It was a nice buzz. I was alone in my tent, and my 2 cousins were sleeping inside the other one. At around 3 a.m., I woke up to the sound of whimpering coming from the distance. Curiously, I went outside to see who was crying. I thought it was one of my friends. When I went outside of the tent, I didn't see either of them. I followed the sound for some time, and eventually I saw someone sitting on the rock fully naked, where we watched the sunset. I thought maybe it was my cousin who was having a bad trip. After running down the cliff, I was shocked to see he was some skinny old man that was crushing his left hand with a huge rock. The blood was rushing out of his veins. I was frozen to the ground. But when he looked at me, with his tearful white face, he started crawling toward me with the rock in his hand. I ran toward my cousins and yelled at them, "Run to the car! Run to the car right now! Go, go, go!" We ran down the hill while hearing the whimpering sounds following us and getting closer, closer, closer behind us. And we didn't stop. Finally, we made it to our car. We looked back, and he was coming at us fast. Faster than any natural, normal human being should be able to do. We didn't stop that damn car before we had got all the way back home. The creature still haunts me in my dreams. During our college holidays, we planned to go on a road trip across the state line to another state. We packed important stuff and started our trip. Everything seemed to be on its track. After driving for about 45 minutes, one of my friends saw a lake, and he told me to stop for a minute because he wanted to smoke a cigarette. I said, okay, fine. I stopped my car, and we went outside. After a few moments, we noticed that someone was sitting on the rock behind the trees in the graveyard near the lake. It was nighttime, and there was no light there. All we could make out was a shadow. We were able to see they were wearing a tall hat, or at least it looked like one. Maybe it was just their head that looked that tall. Anyway, we watched him while smoking. We didn't take our eyes off of him, because the sight of this shadow was definitely moving, and we couldn't make out what the hell it was. We definitely didn't take our eyes off of him. Suddenly, my friend stupidly shouted at him, "Hey, buddy! Everything all right there?" That was a big mistake. A very stupid mistake. He looked back at us and instantly jumped from the rock and disappeared into the dark of the night. We lost him behind the headstones. We turned around, figured he ran away, took a couple hits from our cigarette, and then we heard something scurrying across the ground. Leaves rustling, branches breaking. We turned around very fast, and I kid you not, this thing was crawling at a speed unnatural toward us. Very high speed. Nothing like a human. We dropped our cigarettes in shock. My friends got so scared and ran back to our car. I tried 3 times. The car wasn't starting, and we heard something banging on the back of the car. It was a constant bang. Every few seconds we heard it. I locked all the doors. I was so scared. I fumbled with the key in the ignition. They kept yelling at me, "Start! Start! Start the car! Start the car! Get us out of here! Get us out of here! Go! 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 I'm trying! I'm trying! Oh my god! Oh my god! Stop yelling!" And continued the banging. Banging on the car like you wanted me to open the door. After a few minutes, the car finally started and we sped off the road so fast, and I did not stop that car until we had reached our destination. We went into a diner and sat down and all had coffee. I am sure that something was out there and demented. Either way, we all agreed to never speak of it again. This incident happened to me last year. I used to live in a small old apartment with my family. We shifted into this apartment a month ago. One day, my parents were at my aunt's, who lives in a different state. I and my brother were alone in our home. My brother was 7 years old at that time, and I was 16. We used to share the same room. That same night, I was sleeping on my bed, and as usual, my brother was sitting under the bed, playing with his toys. I looked at the time on my mobile screen, and it was morning time. As it was getting earlier and earlier and the sun began to rise, my dog was waiting for me to go on a morning walk. I got up and put my legs on the ground while sitting on the bed. I nearly got a heart attack and jumped out of my skin when I felt something grab my foot. I looked down to see my brother because I knew it was him. who was trying to play with me. At that time, he grabbed my entire ankle with his tiny hands. When I asked him, "Hey, what are you doing? Stop that. Stop it." He did not even budge, not moving, just lying on the ground. After a few seconds, he turned his face to me. I was literally creeped out when I looked at his normal eyes turning into pitch black pupils covering his entire eye socket, with a very unnatural creepy smile on his face. I screamed, terrified. I kicked my foot away and ran outside of the room. I heard a hysterical laugh from what I thought was my brother while I was running down the stairs. My heart was beating. I went inside the kitchen to drink some water and to calm myself. I heard someone watching the TV. I was really terrified, and I looked in the living room just to see my brother watching cartoons on the TV. I screamed, "What the hell?" and slammed the door. I don't know what was touching me that took the form of my brother. I told my parents about it, but they didn't believe me and ignored me by saying that maybe it was just a bad dream.